Testing, 1, 2, 3. Am I live? I've been struggling to get live for a while, so I'm pretty sure you guys are fed up with waiting. But for those of you that managed to suffer, here I am. Okay, like I will reward you with my presence. So how's it going, chat? Welcome everyone. Welcome rating chair Zenith. I see a lot of regulars that have managed to stick through with me not being on time. I was also arguing with Short Fat Otaku. I don't know why I keep doing it. Masochism, I suppose. But it's like you think like, okay, well this line it's over, right? Like he's not going to have a comeback for it. You give it to him and you're like ready to stream, and he's like, well, no, he does have a comeback, and it's like, fuck me. Anyway, right? I'm not going to say what we talked in private, but it's kind of like what goes on stream. You know, it's the same thing. It's difficult, very difficult. Anyway, right? So, American Outlier has never stolen your time. That is true. He has not yet, but he will. He will at some point. He will. He's got a really cool manga coming out, and that's going to be hours of entertainment that he's going to take from you, and you're never going to get back. He's got some really nice ushikushi ladies in his manga. Yeah, quadruple A gaming. Like, that's a thing. I don't know what to say about it. Like, what does triple A even mean, right? Like, it used to mean high production, right? So, it was an informal classification, which basically says that it's a major publisher. So AAA gaming basically means that, okay, well, these guys have money, right? And what they can create with their extensive budgets is something that the average person, like the indie game developer, is never going to be able to create. Like, basically, it used to mean that creating a video game like Assassin's Creed, right? Like the first Assassin's Creed, it would have been impossible for a small group of developers to do it from their own pockets. But nowadays, it seems to be the opposite. Nowadays, it seems to be that technology has developed to the point that I have seen some porn games from some fellow developers that look like a AAA game that would have come back like 5 years ago. Like, it pretty much looks with the same quality like Mass Effect, and it's got porn in it. Like you're this chick in a sci-fi environment, and it's a first-person shooter, and there's werewolves coming after it. It looks like an actual, genuine horror game, right? So my point is that with a small team of developers now, you can make amazing games that look good. You just need to put a lot of effort in the engine, and like, well, actually, you don't even need to make the engine because you have like engines that are commercially available. Like back in the day, you didn't have access to Unity and Unreal and all the other engines. Like back in the day, you had to create your own, and that was time consuming. Like it would take at least 1 year to make your engine, and then another year to start making the game base functions, and then like another 1 or 2 years in order to start adding content in the game. So like back then it was difficult. Now, if you have money, you can even hire a small development team to do it for you, right? So hearing these companies just brag about shit is absolutely hilarious. Like you have Ubisoft saying that Skull and Bones is a quadruple A game. I mean, what does the A's mean, right? Because it was an informal decision to show that it's a developer that has money. Like Ubisoft wants to show that they have a lot of cash, right? It's like, look how much money we can pump into a game before it fails. Suicide Squad is a perfect example. Did you know that there's less than 1,000 people playing Suicide Squad right now on Steam? The good news is that Arkham City has actually noticed an increase in player base. But this is what's happening throughout the entire industry, right? And I dislike fellow content creators that are trying to gaslight me, or people that are trying to pretend that wokeness doesn't have anything to do with it, right? No, unironically, like you're going to have an army of philosophers going like, but what is woke? Can you define it? They're like Morpheus in the Matrix. But what is real? Can you define it? I will tell you what woke is, in a matter that a 5-year-old can understand it, and hopefully Rags can understand it as well, okay? back in the day, people who made video games were stinky, smelly geeks, right? Like, imagine the smell type of geeks. Like the type of individuals that companies were ashamed with. Like, they would put the IT department in the basement. At every single company, the IT department was in the basement. Because they were ashamed, right? You have, like, the people from sales, the HR. Like those get glass offices. Those get placed on the high rise. But the IT guys were in the basement. They were icky. They were having, like, all these incorrect opinions. They were very politically incorrect. They were like the frat boys, toxic masculinity, you name it. But they made good games. They were printing money, basically, right? Like, those people were printing money like crazy, right? You know? And they were also exporting American imperialist culture through the world. You didn't have Americans watching anime. You had Japanese people playing American games. Japanese people were taking American games, watching the burger, watching the gun, the pistola. It was like America pushing its culture into the land of the rising sun. Like, Americans were pushing their stories, their ideas, their opinions onto the Japanese masses. That's what happened when the geeks were in charge, okay? But then you have the HR ladies. You have, like, the diversity officers, the people from gender studies that knew absolutely jack shit about video games. They weren't concerned about your entertainment. They were concerned with social engineering. They were concerned, like, oh my God, how can you say that? Oh my God, how can you think that? Oh my God, put me in charge. I need to get people to stop thinking and saying things. It's unacceptable. They're talking with each other. Look what they are doing. They're talking with each other, and they're against socialism. They're against the Democrats. Put me in charge and give me... Right? Those people, they came along, and they were the consultants, and, like, no, you need to put me in charge. So now you have a stinking geek, right? Like a smelly old nerd from his mother's basement that has been creating video games for the last 10 years. And he knows his craft. He knows how to code. He knows how to draw the titty. He knows how to draw the booba that, even though it's a 2D image, it looks fucking real. It looks like you can reach through the skin, the screen, and touch the fat on those... That's how good of an artist he is. But in order for him to publish his work, he has to get it past the diversity officer. The diversity officer never drew anything in their life. They don't even know how to draw a straight line, but now they're in a position to be on top of the artist. Like, that fat, massive, corporeal manifestation of the HR hag is on top of the artist. Like, the artist has to carry that corporeal manifestation on their shoulders and get approval from her every single time they want to publish something. So is it a wonder that these companies are unable to create anything? Like, when you put people in charge that have nothing to do with the industry, they do not know how to code, they do not know how to draw, they do not know how to write a story. The only thing they know is gender studies. And you take these individuals and you place them in a position of power. You don't even put them in the company. It's not just the hiring process. It's the corporate culture, and it's the approval system. Like, they get to say what goes and what stays. So is it a surprise that these companies are not only just putting out bad stories, but the video games are more expensive to make because you have to feed these people now. They're more expensive to make. They're worse than the previous. I mean, the idea of having games not working at launch would have been inconceivable in 2014. Last year, there were 5 major titles that didn't even run. You had Golem. You had the one with the vampires. I forgot the name of it. You had Forspoken. You had, like, 2 more titles, like 5 titles in total. None of them were running at launch. Like, you tried, you bought the game. It was yours, you tried to run it, you tried to double click it, it wouldn't fucking work. Is it a surprise? It shouldn't be a surprise, right? So you have like a more expensive product that most of the time is broken, and when it works, it's worse than anything that came out in the last 10 years. And you tell me that it's not wokeness. Fuck off. You're lying. Like the idea that if you take, let's say a power plant, right? Or better yet, a factory. A factory is better. You take a factory, and you put people in charge of the factory that know nothing about engineering, know nothing about the product that is being made, know nothing about, and they're arrogant as fuck on top of it. You're telling me that the output of the factory is not going to change. Like if you change the leadership at a company, you're not going to get different results. I mean, that is what you want me to believe, that rather than believe the fact, no, like you put activists in charge and they have destroyed the company. They have no love for the company. They have no respect for the company. Like here's the difference, right? When Blizzard actually had a name attached to it. So like when people knew, oh, this is a Blizzard product. And it was such a brand that when you saw something having the Blizzard name on it, you had to go out of your way to buy it. Hello, aristocratic Cthulhu. Like when I was a kid, I was very poor. Okay, like my parents didn't give me pocket change or anything like that. The only money that I had when I was a kid was the bus money. That was the only income that I had. And my school was 10 kilometers away. That's not like really far, but it's not close either. It's kind of like a 40-minute walk, right? And sometimes walking in the snow or walking in the rain is difficult. But I would walk to school every single day. And I had this backpack, which was worth around like 10 kilograms with school materials and stuff. I would walk to school. I would soldier on for months on end so I can save that bus money so I can buy Warcraft. That's how important the brand was. It's like it's a Blizzard title. It's a must-have. You have to get it. Right? So everyone looked at Blizzard with respect. Like everyone knew what the company was. It's like the same way the gender studies experts look at Harvard. Right? It's like it's a prestigious institution. When it came to video gaming, Blizzard was a name. It's like, okay, it's Blizzard, right? Like they are the top when it comes to video game creation. So the people who worked there knew about that. Like if you landed the job at Blizzard, it was something to celebrate. It was like, okay, I've made it, right? Like this is the company. Now I need to make sure I don't let anyone down, that I don't embarrass myself, right? But you have the gender studies majors that don't give a shit. They don't even know, like, what is Blizzard? It's just a fucking company that, right? Like, they don't care. They don't appreciate the fact that they're working there. They shit on it. They shit on that. They shit on the customers. They shit on people on Twitter. They shit on everything. And these individuals, once they get in, if they don't care about the company, they're not going to work in the company's interest. They have, like, the interests of the company and their interests do not align. So yeah, basically, it's no surprise that all of these corporations are going broke. It's not because of COVID. Like this is another thing, right? A lot of people, like Short Fat Otaku, they say, oh yeah, it's because of COVID. Like during COVID, people stayed at home, and because people stayed at home, people play video games more. And they noticed like an increase in sales, and now they're firing people. Okay, people like Short Fat Otaku don't talk with individuals from these companies. Because I actually called him on a stream, and it's like, Dev, you know absolutely nothing about the corporate environment. And there was someone in the chat saying, oh, so you know V? Yes, I do, because I talk to people. Like, it's a choice. You can discuss this with people. And what people told me is that, yeah, like during COVID, there was an increase in sales, but you know what they did? They outsourced that. This is what companies do when they notice an increase, because like they know it's not sustainable. They know it's the lockdowns. They have access to the same fucking media that Dev gets his information from. Like this wasn't like a hidden secret where it's like, oh, you know, like the lockdowns may be lifted at some point, or like even during COVID on television, they would say nonstop, yeah, like we're witnessing a growth. And it's due to the stimulus checks and people staying at home. Like even then, people fucking knew because it was on television. This wasn't like some hidden knowledge, right? So if you're at a corporation and you get access to consultants and experts and you're open, like they will tell you, hey, you know, like this is not sustainable. So what they did is they outsourced. like they subcontracted. It's like, okay, so we're expanding. We need more DLC. Like, what do we need? The armor. Okay, well, hire some artists. You know, hire another company. And we get them to make that, right? They didn't hire those people in the company. Those were outsourced. So when you see that Ubisoft is firing like 20% of its workforce, those aren't the ones hired during COVID. They didn't fucking hire people during COVID. During COVID, people didn't even want to work. They were told to stay home and stay safe, and they did. They weren't looking for jobs. It was like the Great Resignation. There were titles about it. It was difficult for companies to find employees during COVID. Because if the government pays you to sit at home and do fucking nothing, no one wants to work. God. I really hate the dumb takes. It's like, oh, well, during COVID, they noticed an increase, so because of... No. Hello. You're like the Candyman. You say your name 7 times and you appear in the comment section. But as I was saying, right, so like during the pandemic, there were all these companies, they outsourced their labor. They weren't interested in hiring people because, number one, they couldn't get anyone to hire because no one wanted to fucking work. But number two, they knew that it's temporary. The media was saying that it's temporary, right? So like most companies, when they notice an increase in demand, like for instance, Blizzard. Blizzard is a great example, right? So they released Diablo 4. And, Diablo 3. Diablo 3 is the one. They released Diablo 3, and they notice that there is a massive increase on their server loads. Like, everyone is playing Diablo 3, right? Now, at the company level, they will discuss the issue, and they will say, okay, like, we expected 5 million people to play, but apparently we have 10 million players. Like, what do we do? Do we buy more servers? And the answer is no, you don't buy more servers because you don't know if this is sustainable. They don't know if this is actually going to last, or is it just like because Diablo 3 has been hyped up and many people are trying it for the first time and some of them may not like it and drop, right? So what they do is they outsource. They will rent servers. They do not buy their own servers, right? They will rent servers. They will keep them rented for 1 year or maybe 6 months because it's expensive to keep doing this, right? It's cheaper to have your own, especially for a company like Blizzard. And if they notice that the game is sustainable and that, okay, well, the same amount of people are playing or it's growing, then they will buy servers. They don't buy servers until they notice that it's sustainable, right? So, like, it's the same during COVID. Like, these gaming companies, they hired people through subcontracting. Like, they were part of the companies. And once their contracts were gone, that's it, right? So when you see that Ubisoft is firing 20% of its workforce, Blizzard is firing 20%, these are individuals that used to be at the company before COVID. And they're firing them because their games are shit. Like, enough with the cope. It is wokeness. They put ideologues in charge of production. The artist can't draw without the approval of the ideologue. You can't make business like that. And on top of that, it's also the toxic work environment where if you make a joke, if you say something negative, you can get fired. It is the constant moralizing and lecturing. It's like, oh my god, you're a cisgender white man. You're a horrible you know, like that. That's not good for work environment. And of course, there's also like the things you are and aren't allowed to write. I mean, there was recently an interview with Dungeons & Dragons, and it was from a higher up at the company, and they said exactly what I'm telling you. They said that Dungeons & Dragons was created by a bunch of white guys. Like it's almost like he was disgusted with the notion, you know? It's almost like he was really upset with that part of the history. It was created by a bunch of white guys with stuff that wouldn't fly today. So, like, they literally say, and this is, like, the obvious reason that wokeness is destroying stuff. It's like when you have a remake of a video game, when you have something that was great, and they're remaking it, and they're basically saying we wouldn't make it like this today. The thing is, like, well, when it was made like that, it became a worldwide phenomenon. Like, you're looking at it, you're saying it's offensive, But I see people in Indonesia playing it. I see people in Africa playing it. I see people in Germany playing it. Like, despite the fact that it's offensive, people love it. So is it possible that maybe, just maybe, people love offense? That what you're saying is bad, people love it and want it. They covet it. So this is like the thing, right? Like they look at old games and they say, no, those games are wrong. We can do it better. But the reality is they don't have to back it up. Like, they're not making games that are memorable anymore. There is no American game that was made in the last 5 years that's like something that I would want to play with my kid 20 years from now. Right? Like when I will have a kid, I would definitely, want to show him like some video games like Dragon Age, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Mass Effect, like these types. The ones that came out recently, I don't know. I can't think of any that I would be like, yeah, no, like this is something that I want to replay. This is something that hello Spoon, welcome to the show. From what I heard, the Overwatch division from Active Blizzard has been hit the hardest in the layoffs. Yeah, I mean, okay, so Overwatch is the perfect example of this, right? For those of you who don't know the story, I will tell you. They had World of Warcraft, and World of Warcraft was amazing. And they were like, okay, well, how can we keep this going? Because, like, the engine is starting to show its age. That, like, people are starting to sign off. Obviously, World of Warcraft isn't going to be here forever, right? So, like, we need another game. And they came up with Project Titan. So, Project Titan was supposed to be, like, a first-person shooter MMO from Blizzard. But for some reason, they weren't happy with it, right? So, they scrapped it. And they took the assets from Project Titan and made Overwatch. So basically, like, Overwatch is created and conceived by the smelly geeks that used to work at Blizzard, right? Like Overwatch comes out with other games that were similar, because there were other, like, first-person shooter MOBAs that came out during the same time. There was one with Tumblr graphics. I forgot the name of it, like Battlegrounds or some shit. But it looked like you wanted to gouge your eyes out, basically, right? Like all the other games had, like, the modern audience art style. And Overwatch had, like, these pretty wholesome female characters, completely adorable. A lot of people played Overwatch because of the porn. I know for sure at least 10 people that were like, yeah, I was watching porn, I saw this chick, and I was like, what game is she from? And then I picked up the game, right? Like, Overwatch porn was so popular that if you Googled Overwatch, you would first get, like, the porn results, and the second link was the official website, right? This is when Blizzard... Oh, yeah, Battleborn. Holy shit. Let me show you, like, the Battleborn cringe. But, like, Overwatch came out, and the porn was more popular than the actual game, right? Wow, like, when I'm looking at Battleborn, to be honest... today it doesn't look as bad as it looked back then. Like, back then it was just something that made me want to pull my eyes out. Now they have managed to surpass my expectations. Now the new art created from AAA is even worse, to the point where this looks like serviceable. This looks like meh. But I remember, like, at the time it was, right, look at the female characters, right? Like, they have their heads shaved. They have, like, masculine features. Like, all of them are ugly as sin. The male character is completely buffed and jacked. No shirt whatsoever. But the female character is completely covered up, right? Mental illnesses, haircut galore. And this is competing with Overwatch. And in Overwatch, you can play as Black Widow. You can play as Pharah. Like, you had, like, actual sexy characters. And again, like, it's not the selling point, but it is a selling point. Like, the aesthetics is one of the reasons people pick games. If the aesthetics didn't matter, then they would just have stick figures. Like, stick figures are cheaper to make, animate, and everything, so there's no reason why you wouldn't want to go with the stick figures over, like, the complex animations. So anyway, right, like here, you have this game coming up with Overwatch, and this game fails. Like, it completely tanks. Even though it was interesting, like, it had a couple of mechanics that I liked. Like, it wasn't on the radar for more than a couple of months. So anyway, right, like, Overwatch becomes a thing, right? Everyone likes it. Everyone makes fan art of it. Blizzard says that they're gay. And that's how they promoted the Overwatch. It's like every single time there's a controversy, Blizzard says that a new Overwatch hero is gay. It's true. But But then they start with the censorship. They can't help themselves. Like, they started banning people for almost anything, right? Like, if you spammed emotes, you got the ban hammer. There was a guy that played Torbjorn in Offense. He gets the ban hammer. Then they start attacking the consumer base. Like, you see Kaplan, which I've been told is a nice guy by people who know him, but, like, to me, he was, like, the world's biggest jerk, right? Like, you're paying money for this game's loot boxes, and you're supporting the game, and here you have Kaplan coming out saying, well, we wish we could make new champions, we wish we could make new heroes, but you guys are so fucking toxic that we have to spend a lot of time on moderation. And I'm like, motherfucker, like, first of all, no one asked you to spend time on moderation, okay? Secondly, do not dare blame the customer for your incompetence. And finally, who the fuck do you think you are? You know, it's like, well, what is toxicity? Like, for you, toxicity is if I call someone a poopy head, that's a violation, right? Now, financially speaking, for Blizzard, it's good to ban people, because the way it works, right, like, if it bans you from Overwatch and you're addicted to the game, like, they were thinking, okay, well, we banned this player, and then they're going to buy another game to get back online. They have to create a new account. So it's more sales, right? Like, someone goes in, buys like 20 loot boxes, and then they get banned, but they still want to play with their friends, right? Because, like, most people don't view it as, like, the company has it in for them. They view it like, oh, I just want to play with my friends. So they buy a new game, they create a new account, and now they have to farm the loot boxes again. And this is what, like, some AAA companies actually think. Not all of them, by the way, but this is, like, actually part of, like, the monetization. Like, if you have TOS that's restrictive enough, but it quote-unquote looks fair, then as long as they keep banning people, people keep buying the game again. You can't name your ship in Skull and Bones anything with booty in it. Yeah, this is like another example. They will make it so that single-player games, just so you understand, like, what these diversity officers do. There was, like, I think it was, like, Fallout 4, actually, that did this. Yeah. So in Fallout 4, you couldn't name your character bitch. You couldn't name your character slut. And I'm like, it's a single-player game. Why the fuck does it matter? Oh, no, sorry, it wasn't Fallout 4, my bad. Outer Worlds. Yeah, like in Outer Worlds, right? They were so concerned with what people do in their own free time, which goes to show that these people, the gender studies activists that are at the top of the companies, they're not interested in making games. They're interested in social engineering. Like, they're interested in what mods are available for the game. They're interested in how to control what people think, right? And they want to say that you can't ever name a woman a bitch, so, like, your main character can't be named a bitch. I saw Overwatch 2 and I knew it was a straight downgrade and people rushed for some reason. So like, Overwatch 2, Raising Terror, is the core essence, the very definition of AAA gaming, where it's trying to steal money from you. So you have, like, Overwatch 1, right? And it's like, okay, they're making Overwatch 2, and I'm like, well, what the fuck do they add, right? Like, that's the first question. Nothing. They added a couple of new heroes and new maps, which is something that Overwatch 1 had added anyway, so it's not like something that you can't add without a patch. But they added no new game modes. They added no new features. They were talking about the single-player campaign and some skill trees for the heroes, which they chose not to add as well. So it was literally like a ripoff. Like, you don't get anything, right? And you have an army of twats on the forums going around and saying, well, actually, it's all about the single player, so you shouldn't really compare it with the multiplayer, because, like, again, that's how Blizzard promotes itself, right? Like, betas now are just promos. They don't beta test their products anymore. They just release it broken to the public, and the public has to fix it for them. Like, they used to pay people for that, but now Muppets are willing to do it for free. So you have, like, Asmongold, and he's playing, and it was like, if you watch Asmongold for, like, 4 hours, you get a beta key. That's how desperate people were. Anyway, right. So he's playing it, and even Asmongold is saying, yeah, like, this game is the same game. Like, there's absolutely nothing different with Overwatch 2. It's literally the same shit. And you have people going like, oh my god, you can't say that. No, you can't. How can you say that? How can you think like that? Then you're going to get a free single player. It's all about the single player, you guys. And everyone was like, well, first of all, this is a multiplayer game. Like, fuck single player. Who cares? But secondly, there was no single player game. Right? And I knew it. I fucking knew it. Like, how do I know these things, right? Like, how do I know it without evidence? Dev, are you still there? How did I know there's going to be no single player game? Because I had no evidence. There was absolutely no evidence that there was... The reason I knew it wasn't going to have a single player game is because I used facts and logic, Dev. Facts and logic, the two things you're at war with. Listen, if a company uses beta as a promo, right? Like they're using the beta as a way of a demo, of a publicity stunt. Why would they not show the single player, which apparently was their best foot forward? And there's two reasons for that. Number one, the single player is absolute shit. So they just are afraid that they don't want people to see it because they know it will result in loss of sales. Number two, there is no single player game. Turns out it was a little bit of both. But this is how you know things, Dev. This is how you know it. You assume malice, and malice is always displayed. And you know what? I would fucking feel ashamed. I would feel bad if I assume malice of an institution, and that institution is nothing but kind. Right? Like, if I were to assume, no, that these people are malicious. Like, they want my ill. Like, what does Blizzard want? It wants my cash. It wants to rob me blind. That's what the company wants. Okay? And it also wants to insult me if they can get away with it. So they want to spit on me, and they want to steal my shit. That's what Blizzard wants from me. So when I assume this, I can predict their moves. Dev, I know what they're going to do. I'm not going to calm down. I'm upset. I know what they're going to do before they fucking do it. Because once you have the mindset, once you can think in their shoes, everything becomes clear. I'm like, okay, if I wanted to steal money from people, spit on them, and steal their shit, how would I do it? And it's like, well, maybe I would just take the same fucking game, make a couple of patches for it, and sell it as a sequel. And those idiots are going to buy it. And that's how I think. And when you think like that, the world makes sense. Everything starts to make sense. Everything gets connected. Everything is logical now. There is no more, like, why are they doing this? Are they stupid? No, like, everything starts to make sense. Everything falls into place. You have clarity. It's perfect vision. It's kind of like when you play a game, you play a Dota for the first time. And you don't know what the items do. You don't know what the champions do. You don't know what the spells do. But, like, you keep playing the game. And after a while, like, at some point, you don't know exactly when, but, like, everything falls in place. You know what the abilities are. You know what items to get. You know what builds to go for. And that's, like, the moment you start to understand. Novi, it wasn't the same game that removed stuff. So, they removed I think, like, a piece of furniture. They had in New York a bench that was like an anti-homeless bench, and leftists complained on Twitter. And well, if 5 leftists complain on Twitter, that's the equivalent of 1 million gamers in the eyes of the gender studies, right? Because the gender studies, they take leftists from Twitter and put them to their bosom. It's their the children that they care about. The only people on earth that they care about is like deranged leftists on Twitter. Like everyone else can go fuck themselves in the eyes of the consultants. So they complain about those benches. Immediately benches get removed. But other than that, they removed like 1 champion from each team, which to be honest wasn't necessarily like a bad thing per se. I think like 6-player team was actually worse than 5-player team. But the reason they removed it, and I will tell you this, okay, wasn't for gameplay reason. Wasn't what was advertised. I know it from an insider. The reason they removed 1 champion from each team is to make matchmaking faster. Because they had fewer and fewer players engaging. And they realized that when Overwatch 2 hits the market, it's going to piss off even more people. So they had like a 5 versus 5 team so that the matchmaking goes faster. See, when you assume that these companies are maleficent and they're not interested in getting a good product, but they're interested in taking cash away from you, all of a sudden, everything makes sense. You can predict what they're doing. It's not only that, it's also like here's another thing that they do. This is with I think it was Call of Duty that did it. Just so you can understand like where the resources go, right? Because you're looking at, it's like, oh my god, you know, they used to make games back in the day that were so good looking, that they were so amazing. It's like, where did all the creativity went? And I'll tell you where the creativity went. Like, for instance, when you look at a matchmaking system, you think about, okay, so I'm going to be ranked with people of my skill level, and we're going to fight with people of equal skill level, right? Like, that's what you think a matchmaking system is. Well, turns out there are other factors. Like, for instance, they would match people who didn't buy DLC with people who did buy DLC, so that you get to see how cool the costumes are, so that you get to see how cool the weapons are, and it persuades you of trying to buy them yourself. So, like, within the actual algorithm, within the actual way of matchmaking people, DLC was taken into consideration. Like, they wanted people with DLC to be matched with people without DLC, so that you constantly get to see, wow, they look so amazing. Now, this has nothing to do with gameplay, right? This has nothing to do with skill. And by the way, this was actually more important than skill. So they wanted, you know, you to see the people with the decals and the money spent. And that was a priority over good matchmaking experience. Normalize euthanasia. Zlixian, you're getting me in trouble. Call of Duty did that the first year. Yeah, I was talking about Call of Duty. I thought I mentioned it. Right? Tank wasn't very popular back then, but now they have more tanks to play. They didn't care about, like, tanks being popular or not. Alright? Like, Overwatch, when they made the decision to remove one player from every team, it wasn't about the tanks. No, they didn't care about the gameplay. Like, you gotta understand how this works at the corporate level. Right? So they're like, okay, we're going to lose players. What do we do? And they're like, okay, we'll remove one player from each team so that we have a better time of making matchmaking. Now, you can't tell that to the gamers, right? It sounds really bad. It's awful PR. It's toxic. Like, if you tell gamers, hey, we're worried that a lot of people are going to leave, so we're doing this in order for you to get better matchmaking, right? You're going to get less sales. So they have to work around it. That they have to justify it somehow. And what they do is like, oh, well, it's for balance reasons. It's for gameplay. It's the tanks. It's like, no, that's shit. Right? The reason they removed one player, like Redding Terror says, is so that the matchmaking goes smoother. That's why they did it. It would solve the problem. No, it wouldn't. And by the way, like, the idea of HR isn't something new. Like, it existed before. It was sensitivity training before political correctness. It was corporate culture. Like, they literally had the thing, like, corporate culture. The idea of, like, diversity officers is not something new. You know, RoboCop used to have it, right? So if you watch RoboCop 2, you will notice that you have the HR lady coming in order to try to fix RoboCop. All AAA Western games are woke trash. Stick to retro games. Every now and then you get, like, Pathfinder. Pathfinder was really amazing. I haven't played Warhammer 40k, but I heard it's not that bad. I mean, you know, you do get, like, a gold diamond every now. So you get a diamond in the rough every now and then. Honestly, Baldur's Gate. Like, Baldur's Gate is really interesting because it was first created by the Smelly Geeks at Larian Studio. And then they got replaced by the diversity team, right? The gender studies majors. So if you play Baldur's Gate, you'll notice that the gameplay is really great. The first two levels are good. But then you notice that there's so many bad things with it. It's like the final level is broken. I mean, when I played it, I couldn't actually play it. Like, it froze, it stuck, it had, like, serious performance issues. And then you realize, oh, that's when the diversity majors came in. And you also have the character issue. Like, there is no romance in the game. Everyone just fucks everyone. Like, everyone hooks up with everyone, like, for no fucking reason whatsoever. There's no replayability. Like, there's no difference if you play the game as a female character or a male character. There's no racism. Like, I actually used to like Dragon Age. You played an elf and people were racist to you. That was kind of fun. But like, either than that, no. Like, it's you know, bland. None of look, the Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous characters had personality. I don't know why people keep simping from Shadow Moon. I mean, I guess, you know, because she's like the only actual feminine character there. But like, the characters are boring and lame. I'm sorry, like, there's no character in Baldur's Gate that can even remotely compare with any of the characters from Baldur's Gate 2. Like, the Baldur's Gate 2 characters are memorable. They're interesting. The Baldur's Gate 3, it's like, oh, you have this gay elf that is sneaking behind me, and now we're tumbling into the dirt, and he puts a knife at my throat, and I'm like, motherfucker, the only reason you're still alive is because you got lockpicking. Like, the characters were really bad. I'm struggling hard to think if I could even find a character that I would like, and I guess it's like the demon lady, but then you see her naked, and she looks like she's 45, and I'm like, oh god, and she has pubes as well. So yeah, it is what it is. I'm not a fan. I'm sorry. Like, Mass Effect had good characters. Mass Effect had really, really nice, memorable characters. I'm so glad that King Shark, who canonically was not gay, is now gay. Yeah, they're turning the sharks gay. Unironically, right? So, like, I'm looking at it, and this is how America promotes stuff. Like, being, like having a fictional character be gay is like giving them a medal or something, you know? And the reason it's funny is because communists in the Soviet Union, they were promoting equality, right? So, like, the idea of the employee of the month was something that went against communist principles, right? Because, like, if we're all equal, you can't really have the employee of the month. But they noticed that in the United States, the employee of the month actually boosts production, right? So, like, you have a McDonald's. It's like, okay, this guy is the employee of the month now, and management really likes him. Then everyone else tries to work harder because they want to become the employee of the month, right? But you can't do that in communism because everyone is equal. So what they did is that they were giving medals to machines in factories, right? So, like, you had a production machine, and obviously, like, everyone knew is that it's the people that worked at that machine that were, like, producing, but they couldn't, like, give them a medal, so they would give the machine the medal, right? It's kind of like that. Like, they're giving medals to fictional things, like they're anthropomorphizing these video game characters, and they're like, okay, well, King Shark is now gay. Like, does it affect the story? No. Does it add it? No. But why then? Because it's progressive. It's for the Democrats, right? It's for Nancy Pelosi. It's for BlackRock. That's what they're doing, right? It's for CNN. And it's like, it's so easy, right? It's such an easy cop-out. It's like, okay, well, I wrote some... Like, for instance, I have a video game, right? And I have characters, and I can now say, okay, Vili is gay. It doesn't take that much. Like, all you have to do is to usher the magical words, and now everyone is pretending that, oh, wow, this is groundbreaking. This is, holy shit. This is, oh. I will not be on the Archcast tonight, no. Sharks are very oral. Yeah, they are. The thing is, like, King Shark himself, I don't even care. Like, why would you care about the sexuality of a shark? Like, he's a monster, right? Like, he's like Killer Croc. Can you even have a relationship with King Shark? How would that even look like? Like he eats people, right? He's a violent psychopath that murders people. Why would you... like, the last thing that I try is how the left likes to say it, sexualize the character. It's like... yeah, not to mention, right? Like here's another take. Sexualizing anime characters bad. Sexualizing this is awesome, right? Like when AAA... Sorry, my bad. When quadruple A developers do it, this is really cool. So like if you like Uzaki-chan, you're probably a pervert, right? Like you're a degenerate. But if you like King Shark, pillar of the community. Like there's nothing wrong there. There's nothing pathological, weird, or even remotely bizarre if you happen to be interested in who King Shark likes to fuck. But Uzaki-chan, that's over the line, right? Like Uzaki-chan, way too far. Like you crossed the line, buddy. It's like, to be honest, again, like my favorite thing with the left right now is that they consider fictional characters to be like real humans, and real humans like fictional characters. So for instance, Vosh, right? Like Vosh has been on the internet for the last 4 years, oftentimes discussing the legality of CP. And in Vosh's mind, people watching that shouldn't get in trouble. He discusses about the age of consent and how he thinks that it should be lowered. Right? So he has like all these takes that would get Milo Yiannopoulos canceled. But like, it doesn't matter because it's Vosh, right? So he champions through. When do they cancel Vosh? When he is caught with anime. Again, arguing for like change of legislation that affects real life human people is fine. Fictional things, not so much. That's over the line. That's the left. That is the terminally online left. Hi V, hope well as well. My mom called and told me my aunt just died. It was cancer. What makes it bad is they had to amputate her left leg 2 months ago. That is horrible. I'm sorry to hear that, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Like when my mom had cancer, she couldn't walk either, but like she didn't want to have any amputation or anything. She was just like, no, just let the disease progress, because like she knew the destination, and it's like there's no reason in prolonging it, and it is what it is. Anyway, now I'm I don't know how I can talk about fictional sharks and anything after something like that. It's kind of difficult. Anyway, you know, IV is just a club to beat others on the head with. Well, yeah, I mean, I was talking about on Twitter earlier about the concept of the word sexualizing, right? And I was pointing out how sexualizing was the thing back in the day, and there were like leftists which were telling me, "Oh no, you don't understand. You're lying. Like sexualizing was always a word." And I proved to them that it wasn't. Like in the 90s, right? They wouldn't say sexualizing. They would say it looks slutty. It looks degenerate. Right? It's perverted. It's sinful. That's what people in the 90s would have said, right? Like they didn't use the lingo of social justice. Like if you were to show in the 90s a cartoon that was like, let's say completely naked, right? Like they would just say, no, it's sinful. That's what they would say, because they were religious people. Sexualizing is something that comes from the academia. Like, I'm not saying the word didn't exist in the English language. I'm saying it wasn't used. It came from the academia. It went through Tumblr. And it's supposed to mean revealing clothing. That's what it means. It means risque clothing. Not even that. Like, it doesn't have to be very risque. It can even be fine with YouTube TOS. It's just like revealing clothing. That's what sexualizing means, right? And it was from the academia. So I was arguing about this, and a gentleman says, oh, it's just like you're concerned about your fat material. You just want to masturbate. And I was talking about how shows in the old days, like Xena Warrior Princess and American Pie, and all the other shows in the 90s and the 100, right? Like they had teenagers in risque clothing, and absolutely no one was looking at that and they were thinking, oh my god, porn. Right? I mean, maybe other teenagers did, right? Like you have shows for teenagers. Like teenagers should be able to watch other teenagers in risque scenes. Like for example, the 100, right? Like seeing Clark Griffin with big tits. Like that's fine. Right? Like again, she's an adult actress. The setting is rated T for teens. There's no porn in it. Like, there's no genitals, there's no nakedness or nudity. It's just like that she is wearing a revealing outfit. Like, that's fine. You know, the X-Men used to have it. So I'm having this conversation, and they're like, oh, it's about your fat material. And I was like, dude, first of all, I have a wife. Secondly, I run a company that makes adult games. Like if I want a fap, I can commission. Like, it's not about that. What it is about is that you're using this ideology to attack people online, and it makes you feel good, doesn't it? Like, it actually makes your pee-pee grow when you go to another human and you're saying, yeah, you're watching this and therefore you're lesser than me and I have moral superiority over you. That's what it is. You get a high off of it. You get intoxicated by doing this. This is what you do in your life in order to accomplish something. You don't know how to build a desk. You don't know how to drive a car. You don't know how to do something productive for society. No, all you do is you go on Twitter and you use this shitty ideology in order to try to make other people feel bad so you feel good. And that's what triggers me. This is why I'm part of the conversation. Because people like you are annoying and someone needs to stand up against you. I care, Padrios. I fucking care. CGR 902. The left has been working overtime to change the meaning of pedo from someone who grooms kids to someone who watches anime. I noticed this, yeah, and it's the Vice magazine, their article, like saying that anime is pedophilia, and it actually won the Pulitzer. And then the person that wrote that article, which by the way was blocked in Japan so that the Japanese people can't respond to the misinformation, that person is selected as a liaison for CNN Japan. Like, it's so obvious what is being done, right? Like, they're hating the fact that the young generation is watching anime, and they hate the fact that they can't control what anime is. So they're doing their best in order to try to get a rail on the industry. My grandpa just passed too. Thanks for cheering me up with this stream, V. Well, I'm glad that my streams actually managed to make some people's life less gloomy. The thing is, it's not even animated child porn, right? Like, we're not even talking about hentai. They are looking at My Hero Academia. So My Hero Academia is the most famous superhero show to date, right? I would say it's even more popular than DC and Marvel. My Hero Academia is what comics books used to be in the United States. Like, it's huge, right? It's not just the manga, it's not just the anime, it's the merchandise as well, right? So you have, like, as you can see, you have, like, these superheroes, and it's not even sexual, right? Like, there's no sex in it. I think, like, the most that you get is a kiss. Now, there is fan service. Like, Japanese are renowned for teenage humor. Like, the same type of humor that Americans used to do with Jackass or Beavis and Butthead. The Japanese have their own spin on it, right? That it's like, oh, the guy trips and he lands with his face in the cleavage of another girl and she slaps him. And the purpose is to laugh. Like, it's funny. It's hilarious, right? And this is why they are saying, oh, it's pedo bait. But like, when you look at the show, it's not something that you wouldn't let your teenage child watch. Like, I would be more concerned with my teenage child watching Netflix than watching My Hero Academia. There is nothing that My Hero Academia does that Marvel and DC hasn't done back in the old days, right? So what is their complaint? Well, their complaint is like, look, this lady, right, like here, she has cleavage. Oh, they're super mega sexualizing her. Like, what type of person does that? And then you wonder, like, okay, so what the fuck is the problem? Like, she's got massive tits, she's wearing a dress, right? Why? She's 16. And it's like, how the fuck do you know? Go on the Wikipedia page. Okay, so, like, if you have the Loli Baba, and you go on the Wikipedia page and she's 50,000 years, then that's apparently not fine because she looks like a child. Okay, I get that argument. But fucking this? Oh, well, she's 16. So what? Like, that, she's not even in, like, a porn situation. Right? Like there are American shows that were done in the 90s, which actually had, like, teenagers having sex, and they were played by mature actors. And their argument was, like, yeah, but, like, teenagers, they find the actor hot, you find the character. How the fuck do you even know that? fuck is wrong with you? How are you like mind level leading expert? And that's not even true. It's not like, oh, I like the actor. Sorry, they like the actor. I like the cat. And who fucking cares? Of course I like the actor. I mean, that chick from How I Met Your Mother, she was hot as fuck. Like, I like the actor. Jesus. Probably you like both, I guess. I mean, you know, like if you meet the actor in real life and she's a bitch, you'd probably be like, wow, I really like her character. Kathy Griffin from D100 was my favorite waifu. Like, let me show you an example, right? And this is like something that actually does have sex in it. And it's worse than the anime then, right? So, I don't know the name of the actress. But it was this chick, like right here in the middle, right? Like this was my waifu when the show was out. She's a Canadian actress. I don't know why in the trailer here she doesn't have boobies, but like she ended up having like massive cleavage, right? So anyway, like the thing is, she's supposed to be like underage. She's a minor, right? Because they use the word minor to make you think of 2-year-old. I think like in the show she's like 17 or 16, because that's like the whole story. It's like they weren't adults, so they get punished differently. They don't get executed. The story of the show is that humanity is facing extinction. Radiation has caused people to live in space, and there's no room for people. So, like, for the smallest crime, no matter what it is, you get executed, right? So these 100 individuals, they were children. They had like different levels of punishment for kids. Like if you were a kid and you did something bad, you didn't get killed, you just got locked up. But in their case, they are sent on Earth, right? So they're sending like these 100 kids on Earth. And there's sex in it. Clark has lesbian sex with someone else. Now, it's not shown, it's not graphic, right? But like, it's implied. They go under the blankets and they do it. It's implied that she's getting head from this other girl. No leftist has an issue with that. I haven't heard a single left-leaning person go like, oh my god, they're sexualizing minors, man. Not a single person. These are like real individuals, right? They're not drawings. And by the way, I don't have a problem with it either. Like my parents wouldn't have had the problem. Well, they may have a problem because of like, you know, like the previous generations would look at it and they would say it's sinful because it's a woman with another woman, right? So like the previous generation would say, oh my god, that's sinful. But like none of the modern people would say, oh, that is, this is over the top. Yeah, so like all of the characters, they look good, they're great, you know, they're actors, they're over the age of 18, and they're playing as people that are 17, 16. And for some reason, no one cares about this. But this, however, My Hero Academia, oh no, this is over the top. This is turning our men into degenerates. V, remember when people were against loli, like Rebecca from Cyberpunk, and were coping even though she was a loli? It's kind of weird. Like when I grew up with the internet, loli meant prepubescent. Like that's what I thought. When you said loli, I was thinking like Chibiusa from Sailor Moon, right? I mean, I wouldn't think of loli as a teenager. So I wouldn't think like Rebecca from Cyberpunk as being that. But I understand, you know, the definitions have changed. It's fine. But it's like, I would say that it's a difference between Tanya the Evil from the anime, right? Where you have like this guy who's a libertarian, and he is reincarnated into World War I. And you have like Tanya the Evil. She's not evil, she's just German. But you got this, right? And this is different than Rebecca from Cyberpunk. And I feel like there should be a difference so that when you're talking about it, I know what you're talking about. Right? Because again, like the ESRB does consider there is a distinction between Peggy 12 and teenagers. So like if you're talking about a character like this, that would be dressed in like a skin-tight clothing, showing her ass and stuff, I'd be like, oh god, okay. But if you're talking about, you know, Rebecca from Cyberpunk, I'd be like, okay, so like X-Men, like we're talking like Jessica from Johnny Quest. We're talking like Gabriel from Xena. I mean, yeah, you know, that's acceptable. Like you can show it on television, that's fine, right? But apparently they're using the same word to create the confusion, to make you think it's like, oh, they're having like someone that looks like Tanya the Evil being naked, right? And it's like, no, that's not what it is. They're having someone, I suppose, like Gabriel from Xena showing belly button, and his freaking leftist out. Like, okay. V, if you think it's bad now, you should see the screenshots from the remake of X-Men 97. They nerfed the ass and tits, and they gave the Storm the Californian haircut. That's literally my video for my entertainment channel today. So I'm going to go and upload that. Thank you for watching, and I guess the Archcast is going to be up in a bit, so I'll let you guys go watch. Lolly is a body type. Yeah, like it is a body type now. Uzaki-chan, for instance, they consider it to be underage, even though she isn't. So. V, it's wild that Arsh thinks lolly hentai should be legal. You never really answered that question. Do you think it should be legal or not? It's one that what I really don't care. But then the more I think about it, right? Like if it's illegal and you have someone arrested and he appears in the press, it's like, oh, he was into CP, right? And you're thinking, oh my god, this motherfucker is hurting children. But he was just like having anime and stuff. I think like if you're going to make it illegal, it should be classified differently. If you're going to do that, right? But like regarding the drawings themselves, I think if it's like a photorealistic thing, that's when it should be concerning. And this is how the Romanian government treats it as well, right? So if it's like an AI generated thing that looks like a real child, or it's Photoshop and it looks like a real child and it's indistinguishable from the real thing, yeah, I believe that should be illegal. If it's just a drawing, I think it's disturbing, I think it's sick, but I don't think like it should be treated the same way as someone that hurts children. That's my take on it. Anyway. I could agree with that, but obviously it does need to be illegal. I think like different countries treat it differently. The problem, like if you're saying you're making it illegal, the issue comes with how do you carbon date a drawing, right? Like take into account, you want someone to be arrested for it, right? Like you want someone to be in prison for it. So basically like what you want is to treat it the same as real CP. Okay, so here's my question. If someone draws this, right? Now without any further context, if this, let's say, would actually be naked, right? Now, if it's a real human being, and it would be like 17, then that's a crime. So the question is like, how old is this drawing? Like, if you catch someone with this on their phone, right? And let's assume that it's rescaled. Let's assume that it's naked. Do they go to prison or not? Because this is what you want. You want to put someone in prison, and you best make sure that you at least put the correct people in prison, right? Now, you can say that's fine, but by what standard? You need to have an objective way of deciding if the character is 17 or not. Because, again, like if it's a real human being, we can find out. Like, you can literally just find who the person is, and you can find when the picture was taken, and you can see the age, right? Like, that's how they do it. That's how they know that the person is an adult or not. But if you have something like this, how do you know? I'm not talking about risque. Like if this was a 17-year-old girl dressed exactly like this, in the exact same pose, like that's fine. That's not illegal. Okay, we're talking legality here. I'm bringing my University of Law degree for a while. So if you have to analyze, is this a crime or not? Like someone owning this naked on his computer, is it a crime or not? I mean, you know, if I guess it's up to the person, right? Like if the artist claims that she is 18, then she is, right? But what if the artist says that she is 16? Because the thing with anime is that there is almost no difference between the ages of 16 to like 25 or 30. So with anime, you can tell if someone is prepubescent very easily. You can tell if someone is old, a grandma. But there you have like this huge leeway between 16 and 35. And it's like, punish whoever produces it. But like, what if the person who produces it wants the character to be adult, right? So like they genuinely want the character to be an adult character. They don't want to create an underage character. But then people on the internet, they look at this and they say she's 16. And ironically, I had people that were saying this, and I was like, motherfucker, I already made her a maid, right? Like, this is a profession. Like, you need to be an adult in order to be able to sign contracts. So, like, she already has, like, a job. She's got massive milkers. She's got birthing tips. She's got huge hair. Like, what the fuck else do you want me to do? Like, at this point, the only thing I can do to make her look older is to give her wrinkles. Like, unless I give her wrinkles and white hair, there is nothing that the artist can do in order to make this character look older than she is. And they're like, well, it's the eyes and the facial expression. And I'm like, well, fuck me then. You know, like, this is the anime style. Like, the eyes are big in order to convey expression. They're not big in order to make you think child. Like, the anime art style is drawn simplistic. It's literally to the point where the same character that you erase the face and you draw a different face and it has a different emotion while maintaining the same pose. It's cheap to reproduce. If you have a video game and you want cheap, you want mass production, you don't have like big budget, this is how you do it. Yeah, like you really can't tell what age this is, right? I suppose it's like, are you charitable or not? And it's also, you know, part of the story, like the dialogue, and you can have that conversation, but there are people on Twitter that say no. Like, if she looks that she is 16, then she is 16. I'm like, well, why do you do that? I mean, why can't you be like, if she looks like she's 20, she's 20? Because ironically, if I say she's 24, she looks 24, doesn't she? If I say she's 22, she looks 22. Now, if I say she's 60, well, she doesn't look 60, right? So, like, you have that. If you say she's 5, well, she doesn't look 5. But if you say she's 16, well, I mean, I guess 24, maybe, you know? So you want to criminalize, like, you want to send people to prison for something that is not 100% defined. Like, find the standard, find the metric, find something objective, right? So that you at least are able to differentiate whether someone is committing a crime or is just like... But this is why it's ridiculous. Whatever, it is what it is. It's just... To be fair, you know, like YouTube doesn't allow violence, right? Like if you have like a stabbing and you show it on YouTube, you get the community guidelines strike. But fictional violence is different. Like, if you have Mortal Kombat, or if you have like a video game like Call of Duty, that's fine, right? Like there is a difference between fiction and reality. And by the way, it's interesting because in the past people didn't care about this. I mean, you had Dragon Ball where Goku just pulled down Bulma's underwear, and you had like Bulma taking a shower, and she was like 14, I think, right? You had Sailor Moon where Usagi was 14 and she was dating Mamoru and he was in university. Like you had all these things, no one cared. What people cared about was the violence, right? So like that was the mortal panic. You watch anime, you become a psychopath because it's too violent. Now it's about the sex. Like, people are always upset with sex nowadays. It's LGBT, it's Drag Kid Story Hour, it's queer studies, it's anime. Like, everything is sexual now. I don't fucking get it. Like, what happened? The fuck happened? It's weird. You don't need to criminalize the fuzzy line to make a nude representation of an 8-year-old illegal. Okay, so well, that's a different thing now. Like, if you're like only saying up to like prepubescence, then that can be enforceable. But I have heard people saying no, not prepubescent, like even 17, right? In fact, I'm actually dealing with this with Steam. Like, I want to publish my game on Steam. All of my characters are made adult. Like, I commissioned all the artists to draw them as adult. I did everything possible in the story to show that they're adult. But if a Steam moderator at one point says that this one looks 17, the entire game gets banned. Right? So, like, how do I know if it looks 17? Well, I don't. I did my best. Everyone has big boobies, specifically due to this. Like, there's nothing more that I can do, you know? Anyway, I should leave you guys because I need to upload the video on my other channel, and I also need to allow you guys to watch the Archcast. So go over there and listen to Dev's hot takes.